Once told his office is the first door on the left, he crosses the camera's location, and we now see Jack's other side. He passes across the first horizon framed indigenous pattern, the first image below, the distant blanket affixed to the wall, a double diamond pattern, mirrors of mirrors from the landscape, at the opposite position to his final resting place photo. Why diamonds? Diamonds are known in the West for their shine. This shot's essence is complex. His figure is walking past an eternity passage. Navajo blankets are deeply coated with both meaning and story. The diamonds can indicate eternity. Two men are framed inside the wall blanket waiting for an elevator facing left. The guest holds rifle. Termini animate throughout the film, which means they refer to other T-shaped corridors and rooms with similar forms. Here the distant blanket contrasts its framing with Ullman's office curtains, transition portals of some kind, that derive mysterious power from color, form and mirror symmetry. Dead end termini are literally that, places of slow death. Ullman's office, 237's bathroom, the red men's room, all bathed in the spectrally neutral white light. All are locations where Jack is subtracted from himself.
I don't want to sound melodramatic, but it's something that's been known to give a few people second thoughts about the job.
I'm intrigued.
I don't suppose they told you anything in Denver about the tragedy we had up here during the winter of 1970?
I don't believe they did.
Well, my predecessor in this job hired a man named Charles Grady as the winter caretaker. And he came up here with his wife and two little girls, I think about 8 and 10. And he had a good employment record, good references. And from what I've been told, I mean, he seemed like a completely normal individual. But at some point during the winter, he must have suffered some kind of a complete mental breakdown. He ran amok and he killed his family with an axe. Stacked them neatly in one of the rooms of the West Wing, and then he put both barrels of a shotgun in his mouth.
In the first he hears about Charles Grady, and in the last meets Delbert Grady. In between he has a wordless exchange with two separate nude apparitions. This careful management of light hue is a leitmotif-like syntax made from light. Jack stares at a woman who descends a staircase. The staircase he lastly descends to Slaughter Halloran. Later, during the tour of the hotel, he will stare at two women descending. Though there is an animal desire component to Jack's gesture, she's also a facet of the hotel's time mirror distortion in play. This is the least, apparently, hallucinatory ghost movie with the most trance-like reality. The arrow form begun in the lake's reflection of the mountain is now on the lobby's floor, shown incorporated into the diamond shape, and Jack uses its left point as a directional. Kubrick glosses the floor to show you the arrow form is now solely inside a reflective surface, blending lake and floor. A subtle, advancing mirror story emerges. The effect of shining, of reflection of light off of glossy surfaces, the lake, continues here and also appears on the column and ceiling. Though the lake mirror is now part of the floor, its mirroring is degraded, noticeable yet invisible to the conscious. Although all light here is generated in a studio, Kubrick carefully contrasts the outside cool slightly blue-white hue, far right, shining that strikes the column, with the slightly yellowed incandescence, a movement from the blue of the sky to the inner yellows and reds of the house, its inner power source, color-wise a reflection of the flares of the unseen sun. Notice the seating. The inset in the wall opposite the elevator is bordered. an alcove to wait for its arrival. Once we get a good look at the elevator's mask later, the trailer has set up the elevator mask as well. Unconsciously we know this bordering is the first view the hotel's face has of its guests as they enter. And then the subliminal. In the sliver in front of the two men, the audience gets a fraction of a second image of the elevator, and the poster's T-shape. The summary. He is walking over the first shot of the film, Arrow Lake Mirror, and crosses the last, the tracking shot that ends in his B&W photo. Camera follows into an ante-room where on walls, that are separated by a doorway appear modern art. And a snow-capped view of the hotel in mountain summertime and wintertime, telegraphed to the future inside the film. The left image is an abstraction of an Indian, and has no straight lines. As the camera turns, we get a glimpse of an Amerindian on the left side of the modern canvas, that appears far more realistic. The lighter green forms seem to animate from a plant, that sits to the left of the image. The green shares similar shapes. Jack is associated with the right side of the screen, the outdoors where he came from, and the future where it will snow. Contrast the color imagery with the spectral window frames behind Ullman. Ullman is framed just left of center. The left side is the interior of the hotel, dominated by a framed double image of an Amerindian arrayed in map-like forms in angered opposition to the outdoors. He has a single eye, a cyclops like HAL 9000. A trailing black form mimics a collected scalp. In his hand is a color-banded cue stick for collecting spirits, like the man moments earlier awaiting the elevator, also holding a stick. The two hotel employees, Ullman and Susie, are left frame-oriented. Notice their nearly monochromatic appearance compared to the hanging art. Ullman's tie gives him a frozen blood cutthroat death, surrounded in blue, a red hue linked to the warrior image outside his door. In parallel, this deep red hue pours minutes later from the left side. The doorway entrance is bordered like the photo Jack ends the film inside, and like the inset wall seating moments earlier, bordered as the color landscapes on the right are. In contrast, the chief's frame shines. Even the doorway itself shines. The window, asymmetrically oriented left of the doorway, is false. Viewing the previous corridor's depth renders this window impossible. The office windows, ghosted trees and outdoor light are hazy, spectrally monochromatic animations towards Jack's final frozen still imprisonment. The hotel's arrays of black and white framed images even seem culled from the window's framed ratios. Jack has entered an endless series of bordered mirrors that absorb him inwardly. These spectral redeeds appear as guides at the entrance of a colorful series of depth absorptions ending in black and white. In a single shot, Kubrick has just visually explained how humans are captured and converted into ghosts, while proving the hotel is supernatural. The interview with Ullman sequence also introduces the first use of artificial light as a character in the film. Characteristic of a total mechanism, the hotel, a conscious supernatural entity, not unlike HAL 9000, but unlike HAL, it has no direct orthographic interface. It appears everywhere inside. Sometimes using human faces. Charles Grady is a real dead person, Delbert is the overlook inhabiting him. His names are even in alphabetical order. The girls are the overlook. So is the elevator.